Hey guys, I'm doing something I normally don't do. I am recording uh, after the fact my intro for my interview with Dave Young. Um, I asked him for an interview, and he very graciously sat down with me and invited me to his studio space in North Van um, that he co-owns with his brother Mike. Um, Dave is probably best known for his work with the Devin Townsend band and Devin Townsend project, where in which he currently plays guitar. But has a lot of other music projects, uh, like Seven Ways from Sunday, his own ambient project called Auger, as well as the band Regal. And it was a great chat. It's about an hour long. We talk about music, no shit. His work in Krav Maga, which is an Israeli martial art, and and I even try to get him to hit me. So yeah, I think that was the only awkward part. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoy, and I'm having Brian Waddell, Beeve, the bass player for the DTP, on tomorrow. So keep your eyes open for that. I did want to just uh, make sure that I said thanks again for actually doing this,
Yeah, no
because
worries. Yeah.
when it was just like the other song thing, I always think that I ask something and it's gonna be a no. So that's what I anticipate anyway.
I don't know. I think um, most people I know who are into a particular thing like talking about that thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. I
Uh,
can understand if Michael Bublé said no or something. Because he's got like a really busy schedule, and but
I don't know. I think he's got more of an underground following. I don't think many people.
I'm not Michael Bublé. So
I remember seeing on your Facebook. I thought it was very inspirational that you posted from that Inspirobot
yeah.
thing. If anybody didn't see it, it's if you if you are who you really want to be in the sadness, you must try harder to enjoy the sadness.
Inspirobot is
Yeah,
awesome. Yeah.
I found that as kind of dicking around with it for hours. This is so fun to.
Yeah.
My
Uh,
my favorite was time travel can be as pretty as a goddess within you.
yeah. Yeah. Inspirobot is incredible. I think
Yeah.
just spent hours on it.
Yeah.
Every time you click, it's just like the most hilarious thing. I started when I first got it. I started saving screenshots
Yeah.
of all the ones I liked. I just ended up with this huge folder of pictures. So
I do the same thing. Do you ever go like to like I find like Simpsons or Game of Thrones shit posts that are just like dumb things that people make. So it's like the Night King from Game of Thrones throwing a spear, but he's got an Olympic medal on,
nice.
like dumb shit like that. Um, I I saw Dead Cross a few days ago,
Oh, cool.
and they were playing at the Vogue, and I always get like watching anybody play music, and particularly like good bands. Seen you guys a bunch of times, watching them. It it always amazes me that it's even possible. Like there's a comic who Pete Corielli, who said that he's learned to play the guitar, and he said like if I didn't see other people do it, I wouldn't think it could be done.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, no, it's. I think. I mean, there are levels of appreciation that I think everyone has for music. Like, um, you appreciate a song, or you appreciate the melody, or you appreciate the spectacle or the technicality of it, and there's still stuff that just blows me away
Yeah,
about how people can play that way or orchestrate things that way or have that level of interpretation interplay between musicians, whether it's crazy technical or not. Just when you see something that's um, impressive,
Yeah.
it's like you still have that reaction. You know, I think even if you might be in that category for somebody else, there's still tons of people in that category for you. You know.
Yeah, yeah. Who's in that category for you?
Um, Definitely animals as leaders.
Yeah.
They kind of blow my mind with their technicality. It's just like next level playing ability. Bands like Snarky Puppy, like it's just not only the technique and incredible like jazz chops, but like the interplay between this huge group of musicians, just like it's the tightest thing ever.
Yeah.
Stuff like that, you know. That's I've been listening to a lot of Thundercat lately, and his not only his bass playing ability, but his ability to like write a good song with really complex, weird chord structures and still make it really listenable
Yeah.
is really impressive.
Because I watch, somebody like you, and like the sheer breadth of what you do. So it's like you play guitar for DDP Live, but you've done keyboards and mandolin and remember the name because I have melodica.
Yeah.
It's like I see that sometimes, like, you motherfucker. I actually got a melodica in part because of you, because
Nice.
I really like that sound.
That's a great instrument. Man.
Yeah, I think I got like a kid's practice one, I think, because
Yeah,
it's like
that's what I had too. It was like a $60 melodica, like nothing
yeah.
fancy. Yeah.
How did the like learning of these different instruments kind of progress for you?
I think, I mean, I started initially on piano, like classical piano, and then sort of fell out of love with it in my teen years as I started to get angsty.
Yeah.
um, it kind of it felt like constrained because you're supposed to play like a Baroque piece. You're supposed to play it in the style of the Baroque times and how the composer felt that it should have been played at the time, and you can't necessarily put your own stamp on it.
Spin on it, like experiment with it.
Yeah, and that sort of started to turn me off from piano, and then I got into guitar in my teen years and started listening to grunge and Pearl Jam and SDP and Soundgarden and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And then it was like, oh, I can learn how to play these things. So I really got into that, and then sort of got back into the classical thing with classical guitar. My guitar teacher was really into classical guitar, so I kind of got back into classical with the guitar for a bit, and but I think having learned piano and then having learned guitar, it kind of it was inspiring to like see what else I could learn, and just I think I always thought like the more that I could do myself, the easier it would be to be able to get things done. So
Yeah.
if I wanted that sound on a recording, I could play that or put that sound on there.
You can figure out how to do it on your own, sort of thing.
Yeah, and my brother and I, my brother Mike, he plays bass in Mother, and we have the studio together. We were both always really into production and playing different instruments, and he plays bass, but he plays a little bit of guitar, and
Yeah.
so it's nice to be versatile, and especially from a production standpoint, I think it's nice to be able to know the mechanics of an instrument when you're talking to somebody else about how they're playing it or what you want to sort of have them get out of it. It's really helpful to know the mechanics mechanics of it. So I like playing drums also. I mean, I'm a terrible drummer, but I sort of learned enough about the drums to be able to work my way around a kit
Yeah.
and know how to talk to a drummer about
At
beats
least
and
you
stuff
have
like that.
this technical knowledge that would help.
Yeah.
I probably should have fucking just like thought of that before I started a band, because it wasn't that many years ago. Like my buddy is like very proficient with guitars and stuff like that. And it wasn't that, a few years ago that he was telling me like, oh, like about pickups and shit, and I'm so stupid. I was like, oh, those are the rectangles, right? Like, so maybe I should have thought of that a bit, but
I don't know. I mean, I think I think there are a lot of really good musicians who don't really care that much about
yeah,
like, if you go buy a Telecaster, it's gonna sound like a Telecaster, and it's probably gonna sound pretty good.
Yeah.
And then if you start nerding out on it a bit, you can change your pickups and change your hardware and your bridge and your tailpiece and change your string gauge and change your nut, and this one sounds better, and this electronic circuit has better high end tone, and like it's kind of like
yeah.
you know
The obsession can kind of start from that. Oh, I don't know what this is, and
yeah, but still, I mean, you could be like, this is a bridge pickup and this is a neck pickup, and be an incredible guitar player. So
yeah,
I don't think it's a necessity for everybody, but
definitly helps.
it is an obsession for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I talked to Che last year. I had her on,
Nice.
and she said that you did some guitar lessons with her.
Yeah, I think they were sort of informal lessons, but
Yeah.
one of my good friends was interning at the Feldman Agency at the time, and Che was working with Feldman Agency, and they needed her to do some rough demos to send out. So my brother and I produced a couple demos for her in our basement like years ago.
Okay. Yeah.
And yeah, that's sort of how we met her. And she just like one taked every recording. It was like,
Wow.
yeah, she has an incredible voice. Lots of soul and lots of presence, and so we're just like, wow, we should do some stuff. And
Yeah.
we played a couple shows. I played guitar with her for a couple shows, and then I guess Dev was looking for a singer on the Key record, and I suggested Shay for that. So then she was introduced to Dev, and now they're doing the Casualties thing,
Right.
which is really cool. So yeah,
Okay.
no, she's super talented singer for sure.
Yeah. I've noticed that, particularly like even in the last maybe year or something, that your kind of public, not persona, but public output. So you've done a lot more like videos like the Hughes and Kettner ones,
Yeah.
and like the gear rundowns, for like the tour documentaries and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I always like asking this question because I'm looking at this fucking wall of pedals, and I said before Mike's turn, I just want to press buttons and shit.
Yeah.
But what do you think, having this like range of options and having that range of technology or whatever, how does that help you write or help you perform?
Well, I mean, the technology, I think, in terms of gear, like makes ease of use a lot better. Like ease of demoing, ease of recording.
Yeah.
You can, I think, more immediately put your ideas down. These days, like a home recording gear is so prevalent. Everybody has a little box and a couple microphones.
Yeah.
And, it's like it's just super easy to do these days, which is great. So it's really easy to put your ideas down. I think for me, I like physical objects. Like I like pushing buttons too. I want to hit turn it on and I want to turn it off, and I want to be able to twist the knobs on it, and which is why we end up with this insane pedal shelf here.
Yeah.
Um, but everything does something specific, and hopefully something useful, and especially here if I'm playing some guitar and I'm like, oh, it needs that one. I
Yeah.
can just grab it and it's right there. So having that kind of stuff handy is really nice. And then I think also recording wise, all of every physical pedal that you can imagine is written into some software somewhere.
That's
So,
true. Yeah.
having that handy as well is like, you're mixing a tune and you can send a signal out, reamp it, and plug a bunch of pedals in, and then re-record the guitar tone, and then realign it in the track, or you could just like throw on a cool plugin that has a similar effect, and it's still gonna sound really good. So I think just having options is good, and yeah, I mean, as far as the video thing, I think like I kind of always wanted to make some videos. I don't even own a camera,
Yeah.
and lots of people make them on iPhone, and they don't necessarily look that great or sound that great. It's hard to make a good sounding video unless you have some level of production involved, and
That's true.
then it takes time, and but super happy to try and share sort of my view on things. So it was really nice to do those using Kettner and famous videos, and
Yeah.
yeah.
Do you ever? So does it become more about the range of options than like having, I make this sound with this combination or whatever, and holy shit, that sounds like something that I could make into something. Like, does a certain piece of gear ever inspire you to write?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. Yeah, I have a solo project called Auger,
Yeah.
and I write most of the stuff on keyboard, and it's very like ambient kind of music, and having a sound that's inspiring is super helpful. Like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, you just like turn on your keyboard and it's on the piano sound.
Yeah.
And you're like, it's piano. And then you put like 8 miles of reverb on it, and you're like, oh, this G chord sounds incredible, and
Yeah.
I think that can be super inspiring. So having those, different sounds at your fingertips is cool, especially if you're just like plugged into a guitar amp and kind of riffing, and you're like, there's something about that, but maybe it could use some of this, and then you're like, oh, that's totally what it needed, and
Right.
now it sounds like unique as opposed to just like
This plunking kind of thing.
yeah.
Because I actually did listen to Auger, and I like ambient music, and I really loved that
Yeah,
album.
thank you.
And well, actually, I was wondering too how you kind of started, and if you've had any prospects of doing any of it live.
I would love to do it live. I haven't really figured out how to do it yet.
Yeah.
If I did it by myself, I would have to have a lot of stuff on tracks,
Mm.
which can be cool, but
At a certain point, you kind of want these things to be done.
yeah, I feel like it could be kind of sterile if it's just me at a keyboard with a bunch of tracks playing in the background, and
Yeah.
everything's super like slow tempo, and it would have to be like, you don't want to just like
You don't want it
set
like
up
keyboard
at a, set up at a
karaoke.
rock venue and
Yeah.
and have everyone like yelling louder and drinks clinking louder than your music. So
Yeah.
I think it would be dependent on the venue and the ability to do it. I have this vision in my mind of having like an automated light show that represents each instrument, so it would make it like super visually interesting.
Wow.
But yeah, I mean that's
The logistics
just
of it.
time and money, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, I started the project. I really wanted to do a record of my own. I think my intention was to find out what my personal voice was like,
Yeah.
without the influence of anybody else. Because traditionally, like with my brother, we had always played in rock bands and prog rock bands, and that's sort of where our writing kind of came from. But I wanted to do something that was like what would happen if it was just me in a room and
Yeah.
with a keyboard, and what would come out of that. So that record was what came out of that, and it was interesting to sort of like, I don't know. I mean, it took a long time, but it was interesting to sort of like barf that out.
Yeah.
And yeah, I definitely want to work on more stuff. It's again, it's time, and we've been super busy this year with Devin. So it's been hard to sort of cram things in around it.
Yeah,
But,
you've had a fucking nuts travel schedule.
yeah, but yeah, it's definitely on my mind a lot, and something I want to pursue more. So
I have to know because I'm obsessed with a particular, I guess, element or sound where it's just that really. I'm gonna describe it, and I didn't bring a sample of it because I'm dumb. But the very like ethereal, breathy kind of like you can hear it on a lot of DTP records. How the hell do you make that?
which in terms of like
Like,
vocals or guitars or
usually just like keyboard or like those kind of ambient sounds.
oh, I think Devin and I both share a love of delay and reverb.
Yeah.
So everything on the record pretty much has insane amounts of reverb on it.
Yeah.
And I think same thing for Devin. There was a keyboard called the Triton LE by Korg.
Okay. Yeah.
That we still have one kicking around, but that was like there was one patch on it that was like the sound
Yeah.
that was on every song, and it was just like a big multi-layer string patch with tons of reverb on it.
Okay, that's probably it. That's probably what I need to.
So that was when I played keys for Dev. That was on everything we ever did was that
Okay.
sound, and then layered with other instrumentation and other keyboards. But the bass, like these are the supporting chords, was that sound. So
Oh wow.
so that was a big thing for my own record. I got a Nord keyboard that has you can load a bunch of different samples into it. So I got a bunch of Mellotron samples of Mellotron strings, and I love the sound of that. So all the strings on the record are Mellotron strings
Okay.
from the Nord, and again, just like a mile of reverb.
Yeah.
It makes it sound like super ethereal. So
Yeah. I love that sound, and again, I'll probably upload it, but it probably would have been smart again to to go. This is what I mean, but and is that kind of like what all that is, like on when you guys did Ghost live and it's in the for the by a thread thing,
right, yeah.
and you had like that whole half of the stage for all of that gear and all that stuff. Is
Yeah.
that like what you have to do to get those sounds? I guess.
I did have a lot of gear that
Yeah.
I kind of forgot about that. Yeah, I mean, Ghost was really interesting. It was when we did the record, it was Mike and Deb and I, and we set up at the Factory Studios, which I don't think is there anymore, but
Is the factory gone?
it's something else. I think is it Nimbus now?
Oh, okay.
I can't remember. Anyway, at the time it was the Factory, and it had a really big live room, so we kind of just brought everything that we could think of to bring.
Yeah.
We had an acoustic piano, and I had my Nord and a controller with a bunch of soft synths and a mandolin and a melodica, and Devin had like 10 acoustic guitars, and Mike had a kit set up with a bunch of drums, and so we could just sort of grab what what seemed like the thing at the time, and then we would do multiple passes and just like switch instruments and add layers to it and stuff. So
Yeah.
I think representing that live was cool. For me, the basis of like most of what I do sound wise is the Nord.
Okay.
I have an electro, and it just has like the keyboards that I want to hear. It has a piano, Rhodes, Wurlitzer, organ, and samples, mellotron strings, tons of different samples that you can load. So that's sort of like my go-to keyboard. And then for the Ghost stuff, I ran my keyboard through a delay pedal, the green
Okay.
ubiquitous Line 6,
Yeah.
which is great. But it has a really cool feature. It does self-oscillation, so if you turn up the feedback too high, it recycles that tone and feeds back on itself,
Oh wow.
which creates tones and like sweeping sort of ambient effects and stuff. And then you can, with the controls on the pedal, you can adjust almost the pitch of the wave and stuff as it, and sweep through it and change the tempo of it. And a lot of delay pedals do that, but the flexibility of the tonal controls on the Line 6 is really cool. So
That's dope.
so I use that a lot for that stuff too.
Yeah.
It goes into ambient sections, sort of just like overload the feedback, and it creates these like kind of tones that you can adjust, and that was happened a lot on that as well.
Yeah. So you said the auger, you wanted it to be kind of yourself and for it to come from you. And I was rereading parts of Devin's book to kind of get some more information. And I remember that he said that you had a bit of, you were a little dark. And
You did say that.
Yeah. I'm wondering, I mean, everybody's personality, but does your, like, worldview, I guess, affect how you write and affect maybe those sounds that came out?
Yeah, I think so. I think everything about you, your personality, your views on things, everything affects the way you write music, I think, because it's not there's no like recipe for it, unless you're writing a pop song about a guy and a girl.
Yeah.
You're just making something up from who knows where, it's all of your experiences and all your viewpoints. And I think I really like instrumental music, not only because I can't sing very well and I'm a terrible lyricist, but because I think you can communicate an idea with just the sound.
Yeah.
And for that record, like, it's a concept album, and there's a storyline behind it. And I had my friend do a painting for each of the songs, and it sort of tells a story. And I was hoping along the lines of a film soundtrack that the music would really like delineate the story.
Yeah.
And back up what was happening in each of the scenes. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely informed by everything. I mean, the storyline is influenced by like my learning, my studying of things, my worldview.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I think everything, no matter how prevalent or subtle, sort of finds its way into whatever the creative process is.
If the opportunity came to you, would you score a film? Do you think?
I would love to score a film.
Yeah.
That'd be great. Yeah.
Um, change the topic slightly, a lot actually. Um, a lot of people might not know this. If they watch the Transcendence documentary, they would. You take and teach Krav Maga,
Ooh.
and again, idiot for a long time. I pronounced it Krav Maga. I have, in my defense, I'd only read it.
Yeah, I mean, not everyone speaks Hebrew, so
Yeah,
I
exactly.
think you're
That's
off the hook.
yeah. Have you ever watched the show Archer?
A couple times, yeah.
It was a line from the show, but would you agree that karate is the Dane Cook of martial arts?
I didn't see that part. I think I took Taekwondo when I was a teenager.
Yeah.
Which is basically karate, very similar. I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed the discipline of it, and sort of the chain of command aspect was really interesting. I think once I started doing Krav Maga, it made sense to me because it's super practical. There's no pretense to it. There's no formality to it. There's there are no rules to it.
Yeah.
It's based on practical street
things
fighting,
that you'll find
right?
you could find yourself in. Yeah.
Yeah. There's you don't really have to bow to anybody. It's just about skill and developing skill and training yourself to use aggression as a tool. And it's really interesting self-defense form.
Yeah.
I think, and to me it just seems inherently practical without any other like trappings.
Yeah, because that's what I've noticed a lot about like a lot of other martial arts. It's like, in case your opponent puts his arm exactly like this, you can flip him over, and it's like, but will that happen?
I mean, I think with any martial art, there's sort of a learned, I don't know what the right word is, when you sort of like go along with the situation.
Yeah.
Like when you grab my hand in a wrist lock and you twist it this way.
Yeah.
I want to flip over because I don't want my arm to break.
Yeah.
And it looks super impressive when people do it and stuff, but there's no resistance involved after a while. You stop sort of realizing that there's something else that you can do.
Yeah, you're just kind of reacting and going along with it.
As you practice these moves, it sort of becomes like a learned behavior, I think, and it's good to sort of think outside of that, maybe break yourself of that habit that forms,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it's got a similar like ranking structure to other like karate and stuff, where it's got like the different belts, right?
Yeah, it depends on the school. Some schools use belts. Some schools use patches. I think some schools use like a passport kind of system.
Really?
But I think, beyond the ranking system, the technique at the base should be similar.
Yeah.
Should be pretty uniform. And I found that for the most part, despite small changes or preferences, it's more the principles of it that matter.
Okay.
As opposed to the specific chain of moves.
Okay. And you started doing it after being on tour. You'd done, like you said, martial arts when you were younger, and you started doing it again because you'd been on tour so much?
Yeah, I was touring quite a bit, and uh, I was suffering from depression at the time,
Yeah.
which has been a thing for me for off and on for ever.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I needed some way to uh, build physical activity into my routine.
Yeah.
Um, and I'm not a big runner or, you know, I like I like physical activity, but I can't run that far.
Yeah.
So
You're particular about what you like to do.
yeah, and I remember really enjoying the process of the martial arts. So I just sort of started researching different martial arts,
Yeah.
and Krav Maga was the one that sort of jumped out, and yeah, it was super interesting and incredibly violent and really satisfying. It's interesting to like. I think that the physical activity part of it really helped to regulate my mood
Mm-hmm.
and give me something to focus on and once you start going to something, you sort of like feel like you have to go.
Yeah.
Like if you're paying for guitar lessons, you like don't just go once and stop and keep paying the guy.
Yeah,
Right? Like
yeah.
you feel like you need to go and then once you start making progress, you sort of like, oh well, what if I go a little further? What if I
Yeah.
do a little more?
And it feels good to get you recognize that you're getting farther in that.
Yeah, and it's also interesting, I think, to confront things about yourself that maybe you're not, uh, maybe haven't been like delineated very well by you yourself.
Yeah.
So, um, I think for males of the species, aggression is like often a go-to response, a really ingrained response in your brain
Yeah.
to a lot of situations. But I think that if you can sort of explore um, what that is and why that is, and learn to like not only not develop it in a way where you want to be aggressive, but develop your understanding of that thing.
Yeah, you can channel it into something more useful.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I think maybe it's similar, but with a lot of metal musicians, I find that they're often really mellow people.
Yeah.
And I think that the act of like screaming your bag off or jumping around on stage or tremolo picking for an hour is like a release of aggression.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a good thing. I mean, it's a healthy release of aggression. I mean, maybe not if you're screaming about killing babies and stuff. But, in general, like you're, especially take a band like Gojira, who are incredible and passionate and yelling about saving the environment, like
Yeah.
something that obviously is upsetting to a lot of people, but something that hasn't traditionally been a subject of metal music. It's something that they feel strongly about, and they're able to sort of release that through aggressive music. I think
Yeah.
I think that's super healthy.
And that's a good example too of being like the mellowest guys, because I was doing store security at Scrape, and they were doing like an in-store kind of thing, and saying hi and introducing myself, and they were introducing themselves like, I know who you are. Like they're all really nice guys.
Oh, they're super nice guys. Yeah, yeah. They're just really mellow, really good musicians, doing awesome right now. So
Yeah.
that's good.
And I completely identify with the depression. I'm a comedian, so I mean it's pretty much
There you
cliche
go,
at this
yeah.
point. And so I get, and I think that's maybe part of why I wanted to do music as well, because I like, even on stage, I find like just raising my voice or getting more animated is difficult.
Mm-hmm.
And if for me a few years ago, this would have been impossible. But I think just that release of going like wanting to do that and flip on stage is maybe healthy in a way.
Yeah, yeah, no, I think so, and I think also like for a public performance kind of job, I think it's also interesting to like I find that um, I become very internal, and I want to stay at home, and I don't want
Yes.
to hang out with anybody, and I don't want to talk to my friends, and I just want to like sit around and watch YouTube videos or like sit in the dark.
Yeah,
You know.
turn the
But
lights up and yeah, brood.
but I think something that helps you to get out of that situation is good.
Yeah,
So performing on stage
or your Krav Maga.
yeah, or something that breaks you of that tendency. Um, it's still, I think, a strong tendency for me, but it's like my job is to go play shows, so
Yeah,
it sort of helps me to like
get out of
move
that.
beyond that situation, right?
Yeah. One of my favorite comics, Jim Norton, he would
It's a
bring
funny guy.
you. Okay, you know him. Yeah. Do you ever listen to Opie and Anthony and
No,
no?
I haven't. No.
YouTube? They've got clips. There's a whole. I won't explain it all, but fuck, it's so funny.
I'll
But
check that out.
he used to have MMA fighters on there all the time, and they would. There's video of them like doing different moves on him. So, like he got choked by Gina Carano. Um, Ronda Rousey gave him an armbar. The worst one he said was John Jones doing a shin kick to his thigh,
Ooh.
and he like buckled over and he's just it was a delayed reaction too,
Yeah.
and he said after like I feel like I have to shit, and I was wondering if you'd be comfortable if you want to like do a Krav Maga, like hit punch or hit or something. Would you be okay with that?
Well, you want me to hit you?
Like I want to see what it would be like to get.
I mean, if you want me to.
I'm not gonna jack off while doing it or anything, but like
Uh,
in the arm, like a punch or like, is there something special, a special move that you do or anything? No dick
uh,
kicking. I've seen the documentary.
well, I mean, that is sort of the go-to move
Yeah.
in Krav Maga.
Yeah.
I mean, the idea, I guess, is to cause pain and disrupt that person and
Yeah.
put them off balance. So I think
Definitely does that.
I think the groin is sort of the go-to for all three of those. But
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't want to hit you.
No.
I don't
Okay.
want to.
That's fair. That's fair.
I really, it's really interesting. I don't think, I really enjoy sparring and the the things that we do in class, like super physical, and you get bruised all the time, and it's painful, and it's physically challenging, and that sort of competition with somebody in a sparring match is really satisfying. But
Yeah.
I really like don't want to be violent
And
towards anybody.
Yeah.
I don't want to get in a fight. I don't want to be aggressive. I think I like learning and I like challenging myself,
Yeah.
and that fulfills those things
That need for you.
for me.
That's
but,
fair enough.
but yeah, I don't know.
It's an odd request, I know.
I don't. I don't really see the need for external violence in most situations.
Yeah.
I find that now that I sort of have an understanding of my abilities in terms of physical violence, I feel like in my brain it's more of an option than it was
Yeah.
before. which is kind of weird. Where I'm like, I could fight that guy.
Yeah.
Or, like, that guy's like being a dick to that person. Maybe I should like, but
It's
but I,
getting the
but I don't want even though it is like my brain's like, you've seen this before, or you've been in this situation,
Yeah.
or like I don't want to contribute violence
Yeah.
to society, I guess.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
That it honestly does, like, I know this is probably a bad example, but I was out for a run one night, and there were like these 6 people out, and they had been like at the bar near my house, and they were drunk, and they were fucked up, and the girls were trying to hold these guys back, and like they're just doing the alpha male, like, just, "Bro, come on, bro," like that kind of shit. And it just seems, I ended up calling the cops, and they left, but it's just such a douchey thing.
Yeah.
That impulse to just be like, "Ugh, come on," like, and I don't mean that for you, but I mean to just want to be.
It is. I mean, I would do as much as I could to avoid instigating a fight with anybody.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think there's any reason to want to be in a fight, like a legitimate fight with somebody. I mean, it's like it seems just crazy.
Yeah.
I think self-defense is super important, and I think more than anything, every martial art teaches avoidance.
Yeah.
Beyond, like,
If you
like,
can't, like, get out of
like,
the situation first.
This is the last resort. Like,
Yeah.
You avoid the situation, or you try and like diffuse the situation
Yeah.
before any of that stuff becomes a possibility. I don't know. It is incredibly douchey.
Yeah. I saw this article, I think, from The Onion or Clickhole or something, whereas after Manny Pacquiao said he doesn't like gay people, or whatever it was that he said.
Right.
It's like, it was like, shocking. Man whose job is punching people is not paragon of social values.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. I don't know. It's interesting. I think, I don't know. It's so, the fame part of somebody is such a one-dimensional view of that person.
Yeah.
Because it's like, that person's famous, and that's
Yeah.
all you really know about them, And I think once you kind of delve under the surface a little bit, hopefully they're nice people, but
Yeah.
I mean,
Everybody's a person, and there's
lots of people are dicks.
Yeah.
You hear about, like, I hate it when you hear about your idols, like musical idols, or any kind of idol, and you meet, maybe you're in a situation where you meet someone who knows that person or has interacted with that person, and then you find out they're a total douchebag.
Yeah.
You're just like, oh, really?
That's a bummer. Yeah.
Because what has been presented to you is something that you enjoy or you love, like.
Yeah. And once you're invested in it.
This music is incredible. Like, this guy must be just like full of emotion and really centered, and then it's just a fucking douche.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's always disappointing, but I think it's revealing about the celebrity culture.
Yeah. I've been pretty lucky, obviously, and I think actually I saw your guys' first Regal show at the Rocks. Was that the first one that you had done together?
We did a show in Port Moody at the Port Moody City Center.
Okay.
I think that was our first show, and then we played at the Biltmore. Yeah, Biltmore.
Yeah.
A couple times. Yeah, we've only done a handful of shows, but super fun project.
How did you end up putting that together? And it was musicians, or like the instrumentalists first, and then Dom came in later, right?
Yeah, we Um, my brother and I, we've always played music together since we were learning instruments. We sort of naturally fell into different instruments. I started playing guitar. He started playing bass. Our little brother started playing drums. So we get the Hanson reference a lot. But we sort of gravitated towards these different instruments naturally, and so it made it really easy to play together. And I didn't really have too many friends in high school who were into music in such a way, like performing, writing,
Mm-hmm.
playing original music, and all of my a lot of my brother's friends who were a couple years older were starting to play in bands and starting to play shows and stuff. So that sort of like inserted myself into that situation, I guess.
Yeah.
And then we just always sort of played in at least one project together through the years. We had a band called 10 Ways that we played in for a long time, uh, and then we both played in the Devin Townsend band together. And then after that stopped, I was still playing with Devin, and he started really getting into the session music scene in Vancouver, and he's like one of the first call guys for bass or keys in Vancouver.
Wow.
In terms of session stuff. So he got super busy with that. We were super busy with Dev, so we didn't really have that interaction anymore,
Yeah.
which was kind of a shame. So we really wanted to find a way to start another project together, and having always played rock music and metal and prog music and all these different things, like I think that we wanted to try something that was different from what we might traditionally write.
Mm-hmm.
And our influences over the years had grown, and we had branched out, and he was playing with a bunch of R&B bands and a bunch of pop bands, and so we decided to sort of write the music that we wanted to hear on the radio.
Yeah.
So poppy song structures and concise songwriting and good production and clean production and lots of synths and keyboards and stuff like that. So we just started kind of writing, and I had always wanted to play with Mike St. Jean as well. He's a good drummer, and he's got a big electronic music influence. He loves electronic music.
Yeah.
So the three of us sort of got together and started writing some tunes, and yeah, it was super easy. It started going really well. We made a bunch of demos, and then we went back and sort of refined them and cut down the song structures and made sure that every part was something that needed to be there. And we were thinking of singers, and Michael had played a lot with Dom in his solo projects around the city.
Okay.
And yeah, I mean, he's got an amazing voice. Once he played us some of his demos, we were like, of course, he's the guy.
Yeah.
So yeah, we started recording and did that first EP, and we just finished tracking Dom's vocals for a second EP.
Oh, nice.
We're gonna mix towards the end of the year, so
Yeah.
hopefully early next year that'll be out.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just saw him at the Bellegarde kitchen. He was doing his solo single
Right,
release there. Yeah. Do you guys? And I know obviously you're all like super fucking busy. Do you have plans for live shows coming up? Is that with that as well?
I would love to. I think because we're all super busy, it's hard to orchestrate. And also, Dom has this project called the Folk Roadshow.
That's right. Yeah.
Which is a folk project.
Yeah.
That goes on the road and plays shows. and they're doing a lot of stuff right now, and he's actually moving to Europe. They're on tour in Canada right now. I think they have a show in Vancouver in a week or so, and then he's moving to the Netherlands,
Really?
and they're doing a lot of touring around Europe. So
Shit.
so no, it will be
Yeah.
difficult to put on some live shows. But that being said, I think we're all really into the project and are fans of the music and fans of each other. So I hope that we can make that happen.
Yeah. You've got a couple of Europe dates coming up in a few weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And the big show at in Plovdiv at the amphitheater. Anybody who doesn't know, it's Ocean Machine in its entirety, and then the By Request set, right?
Yeah.
How's prep coming along for that?
It's good. We've played Ocean Machine a couple times now, so
Yeah.
I think it's in a good place, performance wise. So I'm stoked to play at this venue for sure.
Yeah.
It's like a first century Roman amphitheater. It's all falling apart, and I don't know if you've ever seen. My brother and I were big fans of Yanni when we were younger, and he did this show, Yanni Live at the Acropolis,
Oh, really?
which is a similar styled amphitheater.
Yeah.
This is like incredible venue. Anyway, super nerdy, but
No, I'm completely a history nerd, so I love that.
Yanni Live at the Acropolis.
Yeah.
Check it out. But so I'm super stoked to play this venue because it's like a similar kind of thing. We're doing a by request set with an orchestra, and then we're doing Ocean Machine in its entirety. So
That's fucking bananas, man. And then just a few festival dates after that, and
yeah, we're doing a bunch of show dates. I think the last date is a festival date, but
okay.
we're hitting some markets we haven't done before. So we're going to Bulgaria, where we've never played,
Mm-hmm.
and then we're flying to Athens, and then we're flying to Tel Aviv, and then we're flying to Moscow, and then St. Petersburg, and then
Holy Christ.
we're doing a show in Germany, which I think is a festival.
Wow.
So yeah, an intense little trip, but
Yeah.
we've never been to any of those places, so I'm excited to play there.
That's really cool, man. How is it keeping that? I mean, the summer in particular, and it's a brutal tour schedule. Going back and forth.
Yeah,
And how is it keeping up with that?
It's been a little intense. I think. I mean, it's really nice that we're busy.
Yeah.
It's the busiest we've ever been, and I think it's the shows we're doing are some of the best shows we've done. So
Nice.
in that aspect, it's great, and it's really nice to play good shows and play shows frequently and be busy and but yeah, this Plovdiv trip will be our 6th trip to Europe this summer, I think. So yeah, I mean the travel is intense. I feel like I'm just always jet lagged. I finally feel okay now because I've been home for a couple weeks, but or for a week, I guess. But we'll leave again in another week and a half or something. So yeah, it's a lot of flying. It's I understand why people invest in business class.
Oh yeah.
But we're not making that kind of money. But I understand the thinking behind that.
Yeah.
It's an exorbitant cost, but showing up at your destination, like having slept and lie down and
being in that little cave that you get.
Yeah, being refreshed is it would be really nice. But yeah, it's interesting for sure.
And then the next step from there is obviously the Iron Maiden, but you get DTP plane.
That's right. Yeah.
Everybody gets their own section.
Yeah, I should start getting my pilot's license again.
Well, dude, you've given me a solid hour, and since you do only have another 2 weeks or whatever home, I'm not going to take up any more time.
No worries.
Thanks for doing this, man.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks.